Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host Edward McQueen and April Garner Davis.
We can't hear you, Brother Edward.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the program. So happy to be back. And April, glad to see you back too.
Yeah, glad you're feeling better.
Yeah. So April, and it couldn't come at a better time. I mean, you can't miss out on these two giants that we want to have our viewers converse with this evening. Whoa. Take over, April, will you please?
Yeah. Okay, I will. So good evening, everyone. While Brother Edward tends to his technical difficulty, we just want to welcome you all to WCM Live tonight. Of course, I'm the co-host, April Garner Davis, and Brother Edward is our host for this evening. We indeed have two giants with gifts of freedom with us this evening. One who is an author, historian, and educator, and the other really is kind of the same, but they're just doing it in very different ways. And we are just delighted and honored to have both of them with us as they share the works that they've done in the literary world, but also in terms of curating a civil rights museum. And both of these endeavors have led to the opportunity to tell the history of our people and our culture in a very unique way. So we would like to welcome tonight Miss Glennette Turner and also Mr. Cecil Williams. How are the two of you this evening?
That's fine.
Yes, how are you this evening?
I'm fine, thank you.
Awesome. So we will get started by just kind of allowing our guests to kind of settle in, and we want to let you all know that if you have any questions or comments for our special guest, please drop them in the chat and we will share them during the broadcast. And before we get started, of course, we'd love for both of you to just kind of give us a little bit of information about your backgrounds, and then we'll get into the interview. So we'll start with Miss Glennette.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on WCM Live, and I am delighted to talk about my new book, The Gift of Freedom. Years ago, I had the opportunity to meet the last living relative of Harriet Tubman, Mrs. Alice Brickler, and I learned stories from her that Harriet Tubman had personally told her, many of which were the stories that had not been in books about Harriet Tubman. One of the stories was that Harriet Tubman, when Harriet Tubman was a little girl and enslaved, she had to pick apples, and the slaveholder required enslaved people to pick, polish, do everything with apples. To touch them or to eat an apple was forbidden. And so I wrote the book called An Apple for Harriet Tubman, because one time she thought the coast was clear, and the overseer whirled around and gave her a beating that lasted the rest of her life. But she promised herself two things. One, that she'd eventually be free, and two, she'd have all the apples she wanted. And so that book was written. And then later, I learned the story of how she had rescued her brothers from enslavement over one Christmas week. She arrived in Maryland, where they were enslaved, on Christmas Eve, and she had them in Canada by New Year's Eve, because she rescued them, and it was just so ingenious. And they got safely to Philadelphia, where Underground Railroad conductor William Still arranged for them to take a train to Canada.
My name is Cecil Williams, and many in your audience might know me formerly as the photographer for South Carolina State and Claflin. I understand many of you may have that background, that mutual association. I've been a photographer all my life, but in 2019, I started the first and only civil rights museum in Orangeburg. So tonight I'd like to kind of bring you up to date with what we're doing and what's happening there. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, again, it is an honor and a pleasure to have both of you on the broadcast this evening. And the reason why we're going to begin this interview with the two of you on here, even though you are both sharing your individual endeavors, is because it's really important for us to understand why we need to make sure that we are preserving our history, either through storytelling or through the curation of artifacts and other relics that have been left behind, over the centuries. And so, in your own words, and either of you can begin, why do you think it is important now more than ever for us to hear the stories and also to be able to see the relics and artifacts on display?
I think it's so important because it's so meaningful and so important for young people to know the true story, the full stories. I grew up in Illinois and had attended fine schools, but no teacher or textbook had ever told me about the fact that Illinois was very involved in the Underground Railroad. And I felt shortchanged and just thought that no one else had told the story. So it was upon me. It was my responsibility to learn and publish information about that. And then, of course, my work expanded after I had the opportunity to learn about the Underground Railroad in other states and to meet the
History is very important to everyone, young, old, all of us. And whether it's Black history or just history in general. The only thing I can remember from my 8th grade history book is George Washington crossing the Delaware. But in 2019, my wife, my sister, and I, knowing that South Carolina was one of the few states of the 16 southern states that did not have a civil rights museum, we didn't have millions to do this with, but we took the resources we had and we founded the museum in 2019. Since then, after we brought 75,000 people to our location, the city, the county, and working with people like Congressman Clyburn, we are now able to right about the point where we will be entering our new museum, probably within 30 days or less. But history is so important to all of us because it is said that if you don't know where you've come from, it's hard to direct your future and to walk in the path and the journey towards that.
Mm-hmm.
So important that you've documented things and so people can visually, your pictures give people the next best thing to being there or being eyewitnesses to history. And for you to have been the eyewitness to history and share that is just remarkable.
Well, thank you. I started at 18 years old becoming a photographer for Jet magazine. Of course, I started in photography at 9. But pictures are so powerful because what happens, nothing else comes close to mimicking real life than a photograph. And that's the power and the capacity of photographs to tell stories. And of course, motion picture and video, of course, is a series of pictures. And it, of course, tells the story more fully. So in the South Carolina Civil Rights Museum in Orangeburg, it is not a museum of Orangeburg. It is a museum about South Carolina's civil rights movement history. All of the cities, all the places where we were carving out freedom, justice, and equality. We're going to be telling those stories in our museum in Orangeburg. We'll be telling those stories through artifacts, images, and documents. We feel we have the largest collection of those events, people who engaged in them, starting about 1940 to about 1970, the period of the American Civil Rights Movement.
Yeah, and that's incredible. And Mr. Williams, speaking of your work as a photographer, and one of the most famous pictures that we always love to show whenever you're a guest with us, because it's the one that is the most familiar across generations and in our culture, is this particular picture. Everyone has, it's amazing how this picture has actually stirred generations because looking at it, it looks like it could easily be someone who is, of the 21st century, who, is actually drinking from a water fountain, staged. It's so youthful. And a lot of people thought that that was a picture that was like staged by someone, when actually this is Mr. Cecil Williams. And what year was this picture taken? And Miss Tilly, have you ever seen this picture before?
No, I haven't.
Wow.
This is remarkable.
Yes, like Thurman Hemingway. Thank you for watching. He says legendary. It is. And so tell us a little bit about this photo, Mr. Williams.
This was something that we did all the time, breaking the barriers and bringing down the barriers of segregation. It happened, though, at this time, though, that I did this because I was really thirsty. But we did this all the time, not only in water fountains, but in other places as well. We didn't let what was happening in the general community prevent us from doing this sometimes, taking a chance, really defying, again, the laws of segregation and racism. I was about 18 at that time. But I never thought of this as really a picture that would inspire and get the attention that it's getting today. It was taken by my friend Rundle Harper, and we were just returning by car to Orangeburg from down near Walterburg, and there was a filling station, and we stopped, and he took a picture of me drinking out of a fountain, and then when I got back into the car, I took a picture of Rundle, who also took a drink of the water. But I'm very glad that this is a modern day Ruby Bridges kind of incident. Ruby Bridges, the brave young lady who again was escorted to school by the marshals, that's depicted in the picture that is so well known. I'm very glad this picture is being used as really a sacrifice, a symbol, an icon to inspire today's generation to go forth again to help remove the remaining barriers of segregation and racism that prevail in our country today.
Six, I always would ask you this question: what happened after, with the especially with the sign on that says whites only? After they all drank from there, what kind of reaction did you get from the station owner or whomever?
This all took place within 1 minute, probably. I stopped.
Kind of figure that.
You can tell by what I have on that it was in the summertime. I was thirsty. It was a time and day that you couldn't go into a store and just buy water by itself. That wasn't available. Again, when I was about 18 years old. But anyway, I think they were startled, but it was so quick that nobody did anything. There was someone pumping gas. There was someone in the service bay, of course, fixing a car or something. But anyway, I did it and we left. They didn't chase after us. Nothing happened. We came on back to Orangeburg safely, and that was the end of it. The picture did not resurface until 2006, when I published my first book called Out of the Box in Dixie. And then it went on social media. And then again, leading up until about a month or two ago, when we attracted about 55 million people on social media with this picture after I did the Broadway runway walk.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, just absolutely phenomenal.
All this information tonight, April. No, we got to take it and digest it, and secondly, preserve it. What we're getting from these two giants here.
Absolutely. So, Ms. Turner, let's go back to your book, The Gift of Freedom, and I have my copy. Thank you so very much for autographing it and everything, and really enjoyed the story because the focus of the story, even in the subtitle, says how Harriet Tubman rescued her brothers. And so, some of the things that we kind of talked about pre-show, were the signs of the times, the things that could and could not be done, during the time that Harriet Tubman actually earned her freedom, but yet decided that she wanted to go back and ensure that her people were freed as well. And so, as a part of this story, share with us what you learned and what inspired you to write this book. Everything from Harriet actually working and getting this idea to go back and free her family. And then also what kind of happened along the way as far as the people who helped her on the Underground Railroad.
Right. Well, she, as you know, had been uh, enslaved and escaped herself. And she got to Philadelphia. She was able to get a job, and she could just have really enjoyed living in freedom. But she had such a sense of bonding with family and responsibility and love for her family. And so when she heard that her brothers were going to be sold over Christmas weekend, she sent a letter to someone that she knew in Maryland to let him know in coded language that she'd be coming. And then he informed the brothers, and she escaped. I'm not sure you can see this, but through the
Yeah,
state from Pennsylvania, and then she went to New Jersey and into Maryland, and she met up with all but one of her brothers. What she didn't know is that brother's wife was expecting a baby, and he was trying to stay with his wife until the baby's birth. But she and her other brothers met at their parents' home, which was near where the brothers had been enslaved, and waited for the last brother to join. And then the father hid them in the chicken coop and brought food to them, but he wanted to honestly be able to say that he hadn't seen Harriet. So he came with a blindfold and brought food to them as they waited for the brother. And then when that brother arrived, they all escaped, and the father walked a distance with them, and till they were out of sight, until he could no longer hear their footsteps. And Harriet had them in Pennsylvania, and before, within days, they walked until they walked the shoes off of their feet, and then Harriet Tubman got them to William Still, who was the black conductor of the Underground Railroad in Pennsylvania, and he was able to get them on a train and safely to Canada, just within that 1 week.
Within that 1 week. Mr. Williams, would you say that Harriet was the start of the civil rights movement?
Probably so. I've been listening to, I wasn't familiar with the book, but it sounds like she indeed is blazing trails there. It's so interesting that there seems to be a resurgence in history. And this is good because it will help us to, again, realize how important a role we have played in the fabric of the American story. Again,
Right.
A lot of times our histories have not told our stories. But again, when you write something as colorful as this sounds, as interesting as this sound, and bringing out, you might say, the backstory as she's doing, this indeed will help us all to, again, pay tribute to the heroes and the people that blazed the trails before us.
Mm-hmm. And Ms. Turner, you actually were able to speak with a relative of Harriet Tubman's to kind of get the backstory or to get the background for the stories that you've written.
Yes.
About her. Yeah. So what was that like, actually meeting the relative of Harriet Tubman?
Oh, it's wonderful. Mrs. Brickler had been a French teacher at a private girls' school in New Jersey. And a friend of mine, Faye Daniels, had babysat for Mrs. Brickler's son when he and his wife would come to the New York area. And, my friend would babysit while the young Bricklers went and did the town in New Jersey. And so then when Mrs. Brickler retired, she went to Tallahassee where her son lived, and wrote a journal, or was in a memoir group, and wrote about the fact that she had known Harriet Tubman, and I was able, through my friend, to meet Mrs. Brickler and just learn these stories of the apple and of other stories that, were never in any of the history books. As Mr. Williams said, we said incomplete accounting of our history. And so she filled in all those gaps for Harriet Tubman.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. Williams, as you work on your museum, I'm sure that, the artifacts didn't just drop out of the sky. You probably also had to meet with people and interview individuals to kind of, chronicle a lot of the things that you have in your museum. Tell us a little bit about what you're featuring in your museum.
Well, first of all, we all know the bravery of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and the people of Montgomery, Alabama. But little is known about the fact that South Carolina really is the birthplace and the epicenter of the entire civil rights movement itself. For example, even 17 months before Rosa Parks sat down, Sarah Mae Fleming of Eastover, South Carolina, did the very same thing on a bus in Columbia. It's just that the press did not cover it to the extent that Rosa Parks received press from. So there's so much of this history that, again, has not made our history books. But for the first time in history, the South Carolina Civil Rights Museum will bring those stories to life. We have hundreds of stories, thousands of pictures, and hundreds of documents that will tell these stories and bring these people to life so that their stories and their lives will be commemorated.
Do you have a vicarious, do you have films that could give me a vicarious visit to the museum? I'd love to see it.
You're welcome. We're open daily from 9:30 till 5. Like to get a lunch sometimes 12:31, but we still have someone here should you come at that time. On Saturdays, we do special appointments. But again, the museum that we're in right now was opened in 2019, and we are hopefully within 30 days of moving into our new museum in downtown Orangeburg, which is 3 times bigger than our present museum. And then it's going to take us about 6 months to maybe a year to make the empty building into a museum. But we will cover all the individuals that played a part, Black, white, Jewish people. It wasn't something that we exclusively as African Americans did by ourselves.
Correct.
Many people of all races to, again, do the things that, again, make up and change things. In reality, the civil rights movement really is about modifying and tweaking the 14th Amendment and the United States Constitution. We had the laws on the book, but until 1954, when Brown versus Board of Education was declared by the United States Supreme Court, that we destroyed what is called separate but equal, wherein the many governments and many agencies and many cities and many places throughout the United States, they separated us through separate but equal. Separate but equal schooling, separate but equal everything.
They said separate but equal, but it was very unequal.
They were not violating the law, but separate but equal was destroyed with what is called Briggs versus Elliott. And again, our museum brings out those stories.
Well, I live so many miles away that I just really look forward to having a chance to have, if you'll take your camera and take pictures of the exhibits and give a vicarious visit to the museum, I would love to.
We would love to have you. You are always welcome. Our guests, hosts here have visited the museum, and I think they've come more than once, and we invite them back again. But again, we're a statewide museum, a museum that hopefully will be telling the stories about all the stories that happened during this period of time. We don't have enough room in the museum to go beyond 1970, although there have been many triumphs and achievements since then. But that might be the subject of maybe somebody else's museum. But our museum is about the South Carolina civil rights movement history.
And so, Mr. Williams, you said it doesn't go beyond 1970. What's the beginning of the timeline that the museum covers?
1940 to 1970, when the civil rights movement was just beginning. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
But we color slightly out of line in 2 different instances. For example, the election of President Obama. It was such a profound moment in history. We just have to include that. And of course, President Obama has come. Well, no, actually, I would have to say Senator Obama has come to our museum. He never came when he was president, but before he ran for the presidency, again, he came to our museum. And then one other incident, the incident of that happened in Charleston at the Emmanuel AME Church, where 9 churchgoers were killed by crazed gunmen. We include that because it resulted in a symbol of racism being removed from the Capitol Dome, the Confederate flag. And that symbol, of course, was so overbearing, again, that we had to include those two stories that don't neatly fit into 1940 to 1970, but happened really, much later.
But they were so significant, like you said, you just had to include them. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes. So Marjorie McIver, thank you for joining us tonight. She says, please invite us to the opening of the museum so the kids can be there. And of course, as you know, she's part of the trip. Actually helped to coordinate the trip for the young people who came out of Horry County. So just want to share that with you.
Museum. We do not charge. Awesome. We are a free museum. But from those that are able to help, we so much need your support. We need your support because, again, being a free museum, there are so many untold kinds of things that we have a need to support the museum. We are a 501c3. We are trying to do this, you might say, alone. We don't have the millions that it takes really to do this. So your support would surely be welcome, each and every dollar, no matter how small it is. But again, admission is free.
So, Mr. Williams, kind of elaborate on the obstacles that they've run into and are still running into politically and economically in order to reach the goal of the museum.
Well, the city and the county and under Congressman Clyburn, they are building the museum. It's about a $10 million museum altogether. But until November the 24th, we were under the assumption that they would also help us to finance and build the exhibits inside the museum. Then on November 24th, because of what's happening throughout America today, with downplaying again and playing political games with race and diversity, we were told that we would not have the money to build the exhibits that go inside the museum. So therefore, it is incumbent upon us to try and raise maybe $500,000 to $700,000 to put the exhibits in the museum. We've got a building, a brand new building. It's in the center of Orangeburg, right across the street from Claflin and South Carolina State. But a little 501c3 like we are, we don't have that kind of money. So we'll have to engage in all kinds of campaigns, donations to bring that kind of money in. But again, when a person makes a contribution to our museum, it is tax deductible. So we can help you by helping us. And we encourage those that can to please help us. Whenever school children come to our museum, we try and talk with them to encourage them because they're one of the toughest market areas to reach, young minds. But sometimes when we do reach maybe a few, it has a profound and long-lasting effect. Even if it's just one, again, that impact may have widespread implications all over and for a long time to come.
So I want to pull onto the screen. This is what your museum currently looks like. Am I correct?
That is correct. Yes. This was our home. We actually live next door to this now, but my wife and I built a new home about 17 years ago. And again, this building then became my photography studio. It's ironic that in a way, people told me that it kind of looks like a museum. But again, this is where we started from. And not to downplay, we've been cited in National Geographic as having one of the best museums, small museums around. But still yet, if you can just kind of imagine what we would do now with a museum that's 3 times a museum area, 3 times bigger than this, and also in the middle of Orangeburg. We're going to really showcase South Carolina civil rights history with the museum that we're about to enter next month.
Okay. And this is just a rendering of this is a museum. Okay.
This is
that's impressive.
From South Carolina State and Claflin University. To the left, in fact, is a South Carolina State a student housing. And in the rear of our building is Claflin University student housing. So we'll be right in the middle of the, you might say, student community.
That's awesome. Yes.
Can't wait to walk around.
And by the way, we would like to sell your book.
Oh, thank you.
We have a bookstore, a gift shop. We sell souvenirs, and we'd like to put your book in our.
I would love it.
So, yes.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you.
hey, all these, you're no telling what WCM Live can produce.
That's right. You're a wonderful conductor.
Well, I think this is a wonderful connection that has been made tonight. And so before we go back to Ms. Turner, I definitely want to share the website for Mr. Cecil's museum, South Carolina Civil Rights Museum.com. If you visit that website, I'm sure you will find lots of information about the museum, but also, is there a way to donate on the website as well?
Oh, yes. There are several ways it can be done through Cash App, PayPal, and then we have other forms as well. Plus, you can give me a call and tell me it's on the way. We're always accessible. I answer the phone myself. I don't have a secretary. We're not a well-funded organization, but we did have probably the largest collection of civil rights artifacts. When I started the museum, I wasn't looking to start a museum. I was trying to find a museum to put the things I have into a museum. And it turned out, of course, under God's guidance, this is what happened, that we now have started the first and only civil rights museum in the state of South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, Ms. Turner, we actually have some graphics that are a couple of excerpts from your book, and definitely want to share it, especially now that Mr. Cecil has opened it up to support you and in the sales of the books through the museum. So this is one of the graphics that was shared. Can you tell us a little bit about this picture and this text?
Right. Well, this is really just shows the work of the people who were enslaved. I really am I just really think the illustrator did such a beautiful job of just capturing and complimenting my words. I just really am delighted with. We were a dynamic duo, both the artist and hopefully the author.
Mm-hmm. And then this was one of the pictures, one of the illustrations that, it really added some emotion to it because, this is where, of course, the person who is blindfolded is Harriet's father. That's right. The depiction here, right? And so he pretty much was walking them to the edge of what was to begin as a journey to freedom. And he was blindfolded. And it was because of the reason that you mentioned earlier, correct?
Yes.
He still wanted to be honest about the fact that he hadn't seen them.
Exactly. So, but you can see how the brothers have enlarged their arms with his. I mean, just that bonding, symbol. I think that conveys so much. And the book and the illustrations really have Harriet always in this gold or very yellow shawl. And so many of the illustrations are dark because so much of it did take place at night, and just that whole idea of secrecy, I think, is conveyed through the illustrations.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So,
by the way, these are very beautiful. My background, besides photography, is art, and one of the tough things about Black art and art that's designed to show Blacks in a positive way, they're hard to come by. So these are some very beautiful illustrations. I congratulate you.
Well, thank you. Well, I think my editor deserves the credit, but I certainly am the beneficiary to have had the artists produce this wonderful work. And that's especially meaningful coming from you with your background and your eye for for what captures the moment.
Well, I think that kind of reflects the theme that Harriet Tubman rescuing her brothers, right? So all those people were behind her, including that was her father who was blind, I believe, blindfolded. Yeah, I don't know if I'd gotten clarity on that for the viewer's sake, anyway.
I'm glad you clarified. The other thing that was happening is Harriet Tubman's mother hadn't seen her for so many years and didn't know if she was still alive, and certainly didn't know that she was right in the chicken coop next to the house. And but the mother would be, Harriet knew her mother would be so emotional that she'd just really be not only overcome, but very vocal if she were to see Harriet. And so they couldn't let the mother know that they were there. So just think of the pull and push, the emotional agony of Harriet, wishing so much that she could have seen her mother and knowing how meaningful it would have been to her mother. I just, really think it's just powerful and just so multi-level, so many levels of meaning and feeling and, and family connections and love.
It definitely speaks to Harriet Tubman's mental fortitude as well. Because just imagine, she was responsible for so many people, along the journey, and also thinking about who she's leaving behind, who she wants to come back and rescue, how to make sure that she evades, all of the possible captures. And if she didn't have that group of freedom seekers with her, helping her along the way, I just can't imagine, I still can't even imagine like how she pulled it all together in her head to be able to, chart the course and also to make sure that everyone arrived safely to wherever they needed to go, as far as their routes to freedom. So this particular book, Miss Turner, what would you say is the age range for readers of this book? Because I enjoyed it as an adult, but it's certainly a book that can be shared with, I can imagine, elementary, middle school, and even high schoolers, all ages.
Just any age reader, I think.
So I want to share your website as well. It's Underground Railroad, that's UGRR, Illinois and Beyond.com. And so if someone visits this website, what will they discover?
They would go to and see that book. That book is not yet on the website, but it certainly will be available. And then here are some of my other books, like Fort Mose is another book that has its beginnings in South Carolina, where Francisco Menendez had been enslaved in South Carolina. And he learned that the Spanish in Florida had sent word by the grapevine that people who escaped slavery in South Carolina and came to St. Augustine and joined the militia would be free. And he established the first free Black community in the colonial period that was officially sanctioned.
It just, Ms. Turner, it just happened. So it just happened that I have it's your book. Yeah.
Push it forward, Brother Edward. Push it forward.
Push it forward.
Yeah, because it fades into the background.
Yeah. Right.
Can't really see it. Yeah, because your green screen, we can't really see it.
Right.
Yeah.
That is a collective biography that I wrote called "Follow in Their Footsteps." Absolutely. I was a grade school teacher, and so I wrote a couple books, "Follow in Their Footsteps" and "Take a Walk in Their Shoes," that had short biographies. But then, being the grade school teacher and knowing how important it is for kids to participate and feel, a part of the story. There are skits where the kids can reenact the role of, in this case, the picture that Mr. McQueen is showing of Reverend Martin Luther King or Rosa Parks or Harriet, many of the others, Edmonia Lewis and other Black heroes and heroines.
One thing I noticed here that I don't think anyone's brought out, though, this Turner, that I think Ms. Davis and Mr. McQueen might be aware of this. We are both probably, I can easily say, over 35. So,
yeah.
Oh, really?
We didn't fire her quite, did we?
I can't tell.
If that's the case, I got to go back and
We're
kind
not
of.
sitting down looking at television. We are doing something productive. So,
Yeah, and that's the beauty of this, that even with all of your wisdom and years, you still have the energy to create these wonderful pieces that will add to our history, because you're making history by doing these things. But also you're telling the stories that we absolutely probably would never hear, especially firsthand accounts, or even stories that are passed down, through the generations. So it's a beautiful thing, Ms. Turner, that you were able to speak to a relative of Harriet Tubman to get all of this wonderful information and create these books. And also, Mr. Cecil, I don't know how many people you had to reach out to in order to find the artifacts and things that you put in your museum, but I can imagine that you have had countless conversations and many transactions to get these pieces into your museum. And so, yeah, you two are actually walking museums yourselves. You're, as far as having all of this great information.
I'm on a divine mission. I really believe that, again, much of what I'm doing now is not of my own accord. If someone had asked me 10 years ago if I would be operating a museum, there was no way in my world. But I really believe that, again, I have God's blessing, and I'm doing really this as a divine mission, or something that somebody had to do what I'm doing. Almost
Like
every
you're
other
a
state.
conduit.
Yes,
Well,
I mean, I have a
I'm
calling for
delighted
it.
to meet you.
And in some kind of way, again, we started what takes millions of dollars to do with $60,000. My wife, my sister, and I put in $60,000 and transformed an empty house. We went to Dollar General, Dollar Tree, Walmart, not the usual places you get things from to start a museum. But again, when there's a will and there's a way, and you're up to it, and you listen to that something inside so strong, that little voice, your soul, and follow that. I think that's a way of following along in a divine mission, and that's what I think I'm on, a divine mission.
Your oral summary that you just gave of how the genesis of this museum, to me, that's just as valuable as anything else. Okay, you're telling us some things of, like, you went to Dollar General, Dollar Tree, and all that kind of stuff, and
yes,
at the end, not at the very end, but in less than 30 days, the world is going to see something magnificent, I believe.
Yes, in fact, it's phenomenal that we are the genesis of what will be about a $70 million building program going on in Orangeburg, about a $45 million project combined with a $23 million project of a parking garage, an overpass, so that our students from the two HBCUs, Claflin and State College, can safely cross both a major highway, a railroad, and then onto another road to get them to come into the downtown community. So it's something that's not only sociological, but cultural, and it has an economic impact from highway off of Interstate 26, exits 145, 149, and 154. We are anticipating 200,000 people annually. We're going to transform Orangeburg into a tourism center. You see, even if it wasn't us that's doing it, it's a naturally known fact that when you have a capital city like Columbia, and then about 120 or 40 miles away, the port city of Charleston, and a small town in the middle that's right on the thoroughfare, that city is going to rise. So we're making Orangeburg rise to the occasion.
When speaking of the culture, you probably knew to go to Dollar General and Walmart and all, rather than to many of the museum supply agencies, because of your background. You probably grew up with family who made a way where there was no way, and just followed in those footsteps.
You said it so well. Yes, making a way out of no way.
That's right.
Absolutely. So I'm showing everyone now, Mr. Cecil, your website. You can certainly visit the website and find out all kinds of information about the South Carolina Civil Rights Museum. Uh, Lots of information, resources that are available. I know Ms. McIver would love to know this. She probably already knows. Lesson plans, student teacher guides, South Carolina history resources, services. So, we actually encourage everyone to take a look at the website, learn more about the museum. I know this is a recent picture of you right here on the left, Mr. Cecil. You were a part of, I saw it all over social media. I tell you, you are just so iconic. This is a great way for us.
It wasn't something that was planned, though, but that company that makes those T-shirts, they contributed $18,000. They've sold over $250,000 of those dollars worth of those T-shirts, and we are so grateful to them for their contribution. Now, true,
Awesome.
We want your support monetarily, but also we want more South Carolina history photographs, documents, and images. So if you are sitting on South Carolina Civil Rights Movement history, artifacts, we would love to include them in our museum. There's still time to get them in our museum. Things that relate and can help tell a story about someone or something, again, that happened during the Civil Rights Movement period. We want those artifacts. You can keep them in your scrapbooks, but that way you would only be able to share them with a few people. But if you share them with us, they will be there perpetually after all of our lives. So please consider sharing those valuable artifacts with us.
They're wonderful.
I have to ask Mr. Cecil, I know that this is South Carolina history. Are you including or have any plans to possibly include local history throughout South Carolina that actually was impactful in South Carolina? For example, in Horry County, there's a Whittemore school system that existed once upon a time. And, there's a historic marker that is at the site of that school. Brother Edward is an alum of the Whittemore school system. And so I don't know if you've been approached about, featuring anything that kind of takes us back to a time of segregation in the education system. But I think that could be an interesting share.
We would love to have that information. I'm not privy to that. That would be very interesting. We cover most of the things we have now, cover the bigger cities like Columbia and Charleston, Greenville, Spartanburg, Florence, Conway, Lake City, so forth and so on, but Somerville. But again, we want more from your, Myrtle Beach, Florence, the PD, in that kind of area. There are many events happening that, again, they're not in the history books unless you locally knew about them. Sometimes maybe they only appeared in your local newspaper. But that's precisely why we need people to send that history in so we can share these. You see, people died for civil rights. People sacrificed. People went to jail.
Absolutely.
And it looks like that we didn't quite completely do the job well for now race and hatred to now rise again. It is astonishing to me that it seems like we might have to have civil rights movement period part 2 to get
something
where the unfinished agenda.
Yeah, something. These are just challenges. Just like I said it, just challenges. Okay, we got to look at it that way.
My father was the first executive director of SCLC. He had done extensive voter registration in Baltimore, and he was a minister, and I imagine it was at a National Baptist Convention that he and Dr. King met, and Dr. King invited him to come and head SCLC. However, it was the year that Dr. King had gone to India, and so much of the guidelines for SCLC depended on Dr. King's approval. And so they weren't able to accomplish all the things that they had set out to do. But
we have Joseph Lowry. Joseph Lowry, for example.
Oh, have you?
In our museum, but no, I don't go back to his history.
Oh my! I had an opportunity to meet Joseph Lowry, and I just
And we have
say
we have Martin Luther King in our. He again came to South Carolina mostly in a speaking role after he became an icon. But our
uh-huh,
museum focuses on those grassroots people who, again, you don't hear about often in the history books.
uh-huh, the unsung heroes.
The unsung heroes, yes.
Mhm.
Mhm. To your point about the rich local history, and Brother Edward, this is something that I can imagine the Whittemore Race Path Historic Society could sink their teeth into. But the system that I mentioned, but also Atlantic Beach, the Black Pearl in South Carolina, is right. That's huge, and
Yeah.
definitely is something that would be a magnificent feature. And there are others
It,
all across the state. Mm-hmm.
the Atlantic City story, yes, it is in our museum. Yes, yes. We
Awesome.
need more artifacts.
Mm-hmm.
We tell the stories three different ways:
Mm,
photographs, documents, and images. So we need
Mm,
artifacts and images. It could be
mhm,
maybe from a restaurant over there, a Coca-Cola machine or a milkshake machine. It could be
mm,
again a hat of the era. It could be an attaché case, a pen, a pencil.
mm.
It could be a
wow.
sign. These are the ways we
Mm-hmm.
tell our stories.
That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
You're just so
Mm-hmm.
ingenious. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so I want to share your website as well, Ms. Turner, so that everyone will know where to go so that they can take a look at what you have to offer and your upcoming books. And so here's, if you want to talk a little bit about, I'll scroll through it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Yes, A Man Called Horse is about the Seminole leader, John Horse, and following their footsteps and the Underground Railroad in Illinois are one is a chapter book and the other is considered kind of the Bible of the Illinois Underground Railroad study. Then there's The Apple for Harriet Tubman and Fort Mose. Thank you. So you'll get an idea of my works. I'm old, and I'm just delighted for there to be just such interest in this story. It will be ongoing.
Mhm. I see it says coming soon to ebook format. So are you turning your books into ebooks as well, or just
Yeah,
this?
yes, my
Okay.
Lewis Latimer book is already an ebook, and so people who contact me through my website can learn more details about it.
Oh, you have a great collection here of books, Brother Edward. Any chance that the Latimer that's mentioned here on the website is related to the Latimer Conway? Is there any chance of that?
Which Latimer?
It's Lewis Howard Latimer,
Uh-huh.
inventor of the long-lasting carbon filament for the light bulb.
Right.
Well, we got to check out, see what Brother Marvin's gonna say about that.
Exactly. Exactly.
He's gonna want to
Well,
know.
By the way,
uh,
let me mention also that, again, one of the things we're doing at our civil rights movement is we're looking for collaborators. We're looking for partnerships. We're looking to, again, help each other. So I like to say to your radio audience, your online and media audience, everyone everywhere within listening of this podcast, that if you think of some kind of way that we can engage in something that is mutually reciprocal, our organization, in other words, we are a small, close knit kind of organization, but open to inclusion. And we want to help lift each other. And the reciprocity, again, is our runs deep in our veins. So anything that you could think about that we could do together, because after all, it is our obligation, our duty, our challenge to help those younger than we are, to help those less fortunate. And South Carolina, as you know, from a standpoint of literacy rates, economic kinds of things, we are way down on the map. And so it's up to us to uplift each other. So you are doing a great job with this podcast. You're doing, I receive your newsletter. You're doing great with that. And so I want to, again, thank, again, you, Mr. McQueen, your wife, you, Miss Davis, your whole team for putting this together. And again, sometimes, again, when you impact just one person, you see, for example, it wasn't a committee that invented the light bulb.
No,
See, it wasn't a committee. So sometimes one great idea can lead to something very, very big.
that's very true. I say ditto to everything you said. I agree.
Yeah. Well, it was certainly a pleasure to have you.
Right. Yeah.
Go ahead,
So, Mr. Williams, you can be sure that not just from here on, but before, and then we had discussions about it. We want to make sure that the World Community Magazine is an integral part of the effort, the fundraising, and whatever, in order to sustain. I'm going to use the word sustain because your building is going to be built, and we're going to put those artifacts in there. So it then comes sustainability. So we're just going to make sure that your support from all areas, especially the areas in South Carolina, which is where it should come from. Okay, the bulk of it should
And I want to
come from.
thank you personally, you and your wife, and the contributions you all have personally made. Again, when I opened up the letter and I reached in there and pulled out a check, that was such a generous way. And we, from the bottom of our heart, say thank you very, very much for your support, not just of recently, but over the years. Again, thank you very much.
Yeah, that we're looking at the future, okay, and the future is yet to come. They're coming. They're coming. We gotta educate them.
Thank you.
So it was certainly a pleasure to have you both as our guests this evening. Such a lively conversation, and I'm so proud of the two of you. I really am. And just keep on doing what you're doing. And it sounds like you have so much more work to do. And it definitely is going to benefit many, many generations to come. So thank you so much for being with us tonight. And Brother Edward, you have some final remarks before we go into announcements.
I better not, because it might last way beyond the broadcast.
I would only add that our journey continues.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
It's been great. Thank you.
Because I'm sure that we're gonna have the same platform again, throughout the year. Okay.
Thank you.
So we just want to thank our audience members, who are always with us each week, sharing comments, asking questions, and just giving encouragement to our guests. Thank you all so much for joining us. Ms. McIver mentioned another place, Mr. Williams, you may want to put on your list, Charlie's Place Colored School in Myrtle Beach. Yeah, we'll have to connect you with some people on this end. Yes, and but it was great to share this wonderful information, and congratulations on all of your efforts, both you and Ms. Turner, to share our history, to create history, and we're certainly benefiting from your contributions. Thank you so much. Next week we will have CJ Brumel of Next Level Basketball, and he's going to come on and talk about his story. How he turned what could have been a tragedy into triumph, and what he does now with his baseball clinic. Basketball clinic. This young man is doing some really big things to make sure that young people realize their dream of not only possibly playing basketball, but just leadership, discipline, and all of the things through the clinics and the services that he offers. And so we're going to feature this young man next week on the show, and he's going to tell us his personal story and also share with the community what he does through his Next Level Basketball training camps. So, Brother Edward, that's all I have for this evening.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, two wonderful guests.
Yes.
I'm so glad to have the opportunity to be on the program and also to meet Mr. Williams.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure meeting you, Mr. Turner. Thank you. It's been great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Brother Edward, make sure they exchange information. Make sure they get each other's information, because I'm sure a lot more is going to come out of this.
We can see the synergy there.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yes. And congratulations on your project. And we look forward to the next. So y'all take care.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, and Godspeed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Brother Edward, that's all we have for this evening. And we just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Again, we'll be back next week. CJ Brumel is going to be our special guest. And if you have any community announcements that you want us to share, please send them in. You can inbox me. You can drop comments on my page. You can also post to the World Community Magazine's Facebook page. Visit our website. Contact us there. And we will get out community information as much as possible, especially for events and happenings that are free to the public, that are community service oriented. We definitely want everyone to know what's going on. And so next week, I'm sure we'll have a nice little lineup of announcements of things to come. We just really appreciate all of the support. So we hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of your week. Ms. Turner, you take care until we see you again.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Good seeing you again, Ms. Turner.
Thank you.
Yes.
Right.
And Brother Edward, you continue to mend. You continue to, he was.
Trying.
Well, you say you're fine, and then
I said I'm trying.
You're trying. Okay. Flu season is very, very real. And so please take care of yourselves and, make sure that you wash your hands, that you, now I'm going to go ahead and admit I need to go ahead and get my flu shot, Brother Edward. And do what you can to just remain healthy because it's a pretty treacherous flu season this time around. So, but we just thank everyone again, and we hope that you all have a great night.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Miss Turner. Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
Godspeed.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook.